Has a PhD, the podcast where we celebrate extraordinary women in science. My name is Ana Cadete, and with me I have Zafira Castaño, an inspiring role model that I had the pleasure to meet in 2017, and today is here to share her story as a scientist, social entrepreneur, and mom with all of us. Aware of brain drain problems, Zafira co-founded the IMFAHE Foundation in 2015, creating a global educational platform to promote collaboration and innovation between academia and industry. As a mother, she founded the Healthy Growth Foundation in 2023 to expose the youth to healthy habits and other attributes like integrity, generosity, consciousness, empathy, and open-mindedness to succeed in life. Passionate about developing novel cell therapies for cancer patients, Zafira has contributed to advancements in immune cell engineering for cancer treatment in various biotech in Boston. Trained at Harvard University, she specialized in the role of the immune system in cancer progression and nurtured her love for teaching by organizing and lecturing quarter courses for PhD students. Zafira, welcome to She Has a PhD. I'm delighted to have you here.
Thank you very much, Anna. It's my great pleasure to be here today with you.
We usually start the podcast with a question about the roots of our guests. You were born in a small town in Asturias, in Spain. Can you tell us about your story growing up and how it influenced who you are today?
Yeah, that's correct. I grew up in a rural town in Asturias, Spain. And the expectations for a woman in the 90s, when I grew up, like in many other cultures I can imagine, was to find a good husband, marry, and live happily with a family after finishing high school. However, I decided to go to college, and a college that was 7 hours far from my hometown. So my dream became true thanks to the support of my mom. She drove herself for the first time out of the state and brought me to the college to take the first exam, the ACTES exam. And she was really supportive and rejected any criticisms from others, taking full responsibility for whatever happened to me. So she had really faith on me, and that was really helpful.
So when we think about, your story, and I think that even this was in the 90s, I think that nowadays this still happens, in particular in small communities, right? Women are still supposed to have the dream to get married and to have to not have a career, a professional career, but to still support her husband in getting his own career and stay at home. So considering your background and your experience and what you live with your mom, what is your advice for girls in similar situation who want to break up the cycle?
My advice is try to identify somebody who can support you to achieve your dreams and never, never give up.
I think it's a good advice because we tend to think that we cannot make it, right? But once you have someone, and I like the part where your mom drove you out of state, because it can be, physical driving or actually someone really driving you to do something different, right?
Yeah, I remember very good that first trip with her for the first time leaving the state, and we ended going even to another country. We lost ourselves in the road, but at the end, we made it. We arrived to the ACTES exam, and I passed it, and everything started there. So yeah, it was a huge support.
It's very nice. So after finishing your undergraduate studies, what made you pursue a PhD?
Well, in the 90s, so as I mentioned, the expectations were very different for a woman in my culture. And I knew when I was in the 80s, 90s, I read a book from Robin Cook. He is an American physician and novelist who writes about medicine and topics affecting the public health. So this book was describing the role of scientists manipulating the genes of humans and affecting their behavior. So that book fascinated me. And in that moment, I decided that I wanted to become a scientist. But in my family, nobody had that degree by that time. So I was the first time wanting to become a scientist and wanted to have a degree. Luckily, I went to college, and in college, I had a great mentor who was the Professor Pilar Sesma, who was guiding me and teaching me how to become a scientist. And she mentioned during my college degree that I will need to do a PhD in order to become a scientist and do research. And that is what I did. From first year that she guided me in that direction, that was what I wanted to do.
After your PhD, you also did a first postdoc. So that first postdoc, you did it in Spain. And then you decided to leave your comfort zone and start new postdoctoral studies in Boston, where we are today, and you are still here. So did you always feel the need to challenge yourself?
That's a good question, Anna. If I look back, I can see that I have been always challenging myself. Not intentionally, but I have been always challenging myself. For example, when I was 8 years old, I went to the soccer team that was only with boys, and that was in the 80s in Spain. And I asked to be part of the team. And the coach asked me, okay, it's your brother who wants to be part of the team, right? It's like, no, 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 no. I want to be girl, want to be part of the soccer team. And he accepted, and I was the only girl training surrounded by boys, and that was awkward for them, and I did it. So I think that that was the first experience that I challenged myself, like, if I like something, why not to break the rules? Then I moved to college where I didn't know anybody and was new beginnings, new stage, new different culture. And then I left everything behind and I moved to United States. Boston was a unique opportunity in life, although it was the most challenging situation in my life. So you can imagine there are barriers with the language, there are cultural barriers. I was with a lot of distance. I had a lot of distance with my family, but I feel that it was the best decision that I made in my life. So challenges are good. I think that we learn, especially from those. I like them.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that it's very important when we challenge ourselves. And in particular, when we kind of try to stand out in the middle of, all of those boys that play soccer and you actually think that you can do it. I think that's very valuable. So what made you come to Boston? Kind of select this city to be as your postdoc? Because at the end, you're still living here, right? So it must have something special about the city.
I wanted to come to United States because I thought that the best science was, at least in my field, or the best labs were here located in United States. I had a couple of interviews at Cornell in New York and here in Boston, and at the end I was lucky enough to be accepted in all of them. And at the end, I chose Boston first because I like it a lot. The city is a small city. It's like they describe like the walkable city. It's small enough, you can walk everywhere, and the science is incredible. There are the best high universities in the world are located here, and then also the research centers. So that, and also the type of research that Dr. McAllister in that moment was starting to do in her lab was appealing to me. So that was the reason why I decided to come here.
So this also leads to the next question, because I know that you brought in, some students and then start working with you, and this is, when it started the importance of mentoring. So I know that mentoring has been a big piece of your life. You started as a mentor and went on to create IMFAHE, a nonprofit organization for mentoring and education. So could you tell us about the IMFAHE Foundation and how you see mentorship supporting the new generation of scientists?
Thank you for this question, Anna. You know that I love this question. So mentorship is key, in my opinion. It's like breathing, I will say. You cannot live without it. We don't have answers to so many questions in our career path. The faster way to advance in our career is listening to people who is willing to generously help us and share with us their experience. That's my opinion. So during my postdoc at Boston, I felt that was so important the role of my mentors surrounding me. And I thought that other people didn't have that privilege. So I started developing together with amazing scientists from Brigham Women's Hospital a mentorship program at Brigham Women's Hospital and Harvard Medical School. And the idea was to help scientists coming from different countries of the world who were working at Brigham Women's Hospital. That experience was incredible. That opened my eyes, and I decided that I want to implement this kind of mentorship program, but help the next generation of students who were in my country. I thought that I need to give back because I am who I am today, thanks to what I learned and how I was trained in my country. And this is how IMFAHE Foundation started. It born in 2015. And it borns with the help of another incredible scientist who believe as well in the relevance and the power of the mentorships. So since then, believe it or not, we have made possible mentorship relationships between more than 1,000 students from European universities and the mentors who are young professionals working abroad in different continents of the world. We at the beginning we started this project between people who left their country, and we were matching them with students from their own country. So it was instead a brain drain, it was a brain gain for the country. And then we started to increase diversity and match with other people to avoid inbreeding. And we started this project in Spain and slowly expanded to other countries like Portugal with the help of Ana Cadete, which is you.
Yeah, when we met in 2017 and I heard about the project, I felt exactly what you're describing, which is not everyone wants to go back to their country. I want, but we don't know when, life happens.
Yeah.
But there's so many people that emigrate. Nowadays, the world is global, right? So we can pretty much work from anywhere. But it's already in our hands, the capacity to give back to where we came from. In particular, when we think about Europe, the free education that we get, and then and the education is amazing, right? When you come to the US, you don't feel that you don't have the same skills as others coming from other parts of the world. So this is really this richness place. And then, okay, now that I'm here and I'm learning so much with others, how can I give back to my country? And I think that what you bring in is very interesting. It's not a brain drain, it's a brain gain. And I'm very happy to see that IMFAHE is growing and that Portugal is also part of that program. And I will look forward to keep seeing it growing in the future. What are the plans that you have for the upcoming years?
So in the upcoming years, we want first to increase diversity in the platform. Right now, we have students and professors from 2 different countries of Europe, Spain and Portugal. But right now, we are having conversations with universities who are interested to join this alliance, who are from Austria, they are from Croatia, Poland, Chile, and Mexico. So we want to increase diversity. We believe that innovation borns from collaborations among different people with different expertise. So that is one of the goals for the next year. Another goal is to keep receiving feedback, constructive feedback, and learn and grow out of that. And another goal is to keep creating ties between Europe and United States. We believe those ties are important, so we are having more meetings with other organizations from United States who are also interested to be part of this platform.
And I think it's fascinating. When I hear what you say, it all comes to my mind. One word is education, right? And I think that education is the foundation of everything.
Yeah.
So, in your opinion, and I feel like you already gave a glimpse of it, but what strategies can be implemented to foster global education? And considering that nowadays we work virtual, and this is kind of an advantage, how can we take that into our in our side and actually help foster this education for everyone, regardless of where they live?
I think that is an important question. And as you say, we are becoming global. We have to be aware of that. We are not in our small niches, just trying to protect what we are doing. We are global. Um, I think that I will say there are three important strategies, in my opinion. One, and we are trying to also bring it to the nonprofit to IMFAHE. One is bridge collaborations. Rely on collaborations with other experts to teach. We are only experts in something that is small, but in my opinion, we should ask for the help from other experts and embrace them in our daily teaching. That brings me back when I was lecturing and organizing quarter courses at Harvard Medical School for PhD students. So, for example, my approach in that moment when I was organizing these quarter courses about the hallmarks of cancer, I was only a small expert in something small, but my colleagues were also experts from other fields, and they were publishing important papers that were leading the field, papers that were in Nature or Cell. So what I did in those quarter courses at Harvard was to invite all of the colleagues who were around in the Boston area, and they were teaching different parts of the hallmarks or explaining different parts of hallmarks of cancer. So we have to think that these days we have access to experts worldwide. So why not to include them in our teaching activities? That is a way also to embrace other people, other opinions. Then the second strategy is, in my opinion, using new technologies. Use the new technologies to connect globally with other experts. If we don't live closer, because imagine that you are from a rural area, people can say, oh, it's so easy. You live in Boston. There are so many experts over there. Well, if you are living in a rural area with less professors with that experience, use the new technologies. Now it's very easy to use video conferences. There are different platforms. And this is, for example, how we foster at IMFAHE global education. We use video conference, invite experts in their fields from different continents, and use these virtual platforms to teach the next generations. And then the third strategy that is coming also from these global collaborations and new technologies is to increase your diversity in your institution or in your classes and in your educational techniques. Try to involve experts from other countries, from other cultures, and from different continents to increase the diversity in the education of your students. In my opinion, we have to break or stop this inbreeding that has been cultivated for so many years in many institutions. So let's attract through these global education strategies new speakers with the new ways of thinking, new cultures, and different backgrounds to be critical in our thinking and promote an open mindset.
Yeah, I love that, and I think it's very important. So because what you do now, and by implementing those strategies, you can actually have a positive impact. And as you said, we can help a professor in a rural area actually get access to a program or a specific type of education that he or she does not have if not connecting online. So my next question to you, it's actually very practical, but I feel like very difficult, because it's how how can we as a society contribute to supporting these initiatives?
I think that we should ask for more initiatives that involve global education in our city or our institutions or universities. We should demand. When we have more demand, there is going to be more resources on that, right? Also, my advice is to use internet to learn as much as you can by sharing also with others what you are learning and the resources available. Don't keep them for yourself. Try to share with others. It's a win-win always. It's unbelievable also to see how many free and open classes are available out there. So one advice for me that I received from one of my mentors in the past is to set aside 10% of your time every week to try to learn new things.
I think that's it's a good advice, and I feel in the well with myself as well. Like we tend to spend some time on social media, and you scroll, and you kind of lose track of time, and you don't assimilate what you're reading. So why not taking the 10% of our weekly time and actually go and learn for something? And as you said, there's many lectures that are online and free and available to everyone. So you also you're working on a new foundation for the youth. Could you tell us a little bit more about that one as well? And how did you decide to take the lead and starting this new program?
Yeah, so the story is that I saw that my daughter was extremely privileged living between two continents. She spent summers in Spain. She is enjoying the culture over there, the eating habits, for example, very healthy habits, no tablets, just playing outside, socializing a lot with other kids. And I thought that why not to share and to bring a little bit of what is happening in other countries of the world to United States. So together with the help of my daughter as well, she's 9 years old now, we started thinking how we can bring a little bit of other countries and and connect kids with others. And the first project for us, we are trying to promote healthy habits here in United States, especially well, if you think in terms of eating, where there is like 30% of the population has approximately has obesity. So, and in Europe, we have this Mediterranean diet, and then other habits that we want to share. So we started this nonprofit and started a program that is beautiful. I have to say that it has been a great experience. So in that project, for example, that is called Archibalance, we are connecting 40 kids. It's the pilot program this year from fourth and fifth grade, from kids here living in Boston area in United States. We are connecting them with kids from Europe. They are like 50, 60 kids over there. And they are sharing their day-by-day activities, learning from each other, practicing English and Spanish. Also, we involve master chef cooks here in this experience. Michelin star, they are Michelin star chefs, and they were sharing with the kids some recipes and some fun ways to eat healthy and cook, and we were learning from them. We had two master classes with Michelin star chefs. So it has been an incredible experience, and we have more. We have more in the nonprofit, but this is one of our main projects this year.
That's incredible, and thank you for doing that. Between the two countries. Maybe I can do that in Portugal as well in the future.
It will be wonderful.
I think that's it's really good. So nowadays you're a leader. You have been growing yourself as a leader. So I would like to know if you can share with us what challenge have you faced as a woman building your way into a leadership position?
I feel that the same challenge that all of the women have, especially those with kids, is to juggle with your personal and professional life. I think that to make compatible both of them, being a mom, a wife, and have a leadership position in different institutions is exhausting. So there are so many things that we need to be on top of. And although the Google Calendar and the different color codes are really helpful, sometimes balancing everything is very challenging.
I agree with you. I think I'm now in that boat, combining motherhood as well. And I agree that it's being very, very challenging. So, what advice do you have for the young generation of female scientists who are now starting their careers? What can you tell them so they are a little more prepared than we were when we started, this adventure of being scientist and mom and everything?
If you allow me, I will give three short advice. The first one is never give up. Don't allow anybody to stop. Never give up. If it's what you want to do, do it. Find a way to do it. The second one is don't be scared of failure. This is how we really learn when we fail, and then we stand up and then keep trying again and better the second time. And then the third one that I think that is the most important, in my opinion, is to choose the right partner. Your partner is your biggest professional decision. He or she can support you or can work against you. So choose wisely.
I agree, and I love that last one. I feel that sometimes we tend to forget how important is our personal life and relationship at home and the impact that have in our career. And I think this is also very well related to the next question. So you are a scientist, a social entrepreneur, a wife, and a mom. So how do you balance your professional responsibilities with your personal life and self-care?
Self care.
What's that?
Well, I had to say, since my daughter born, I didn't sleep too much. That year also, when she born, we launched the IMFAHE Foundation. And I had very demanding job at Harvard University as a junior faculty. So I was doing a lot of experiments, writing grants, teaching, reviewing articles, mentoring students. Also, I didn't have family close to help us, and the salary in academia was not very high to be able to hire people to help us, right? So the first years, usually the kids are sick very common, very frequently. They are very dependent, and it's really, really tough. In my case, I was the last of the priorities. My hours of sleep were even the lower priority. When my daughter started to become more independent and the nonprofit also started to be more stable, I learned more. I did a job. I changed to industry. So I had better support, better economical situation. So then it started to be more easy, everything, and I started to take more self-care. It's interesting because I want to share this with you. I hear recently that there is the happiness life is like a smile curve. So until you are so imagine that this is the level of happiness, and then you have over time, right? So until you are 25 years old, you are very, very happy. So when you are a child, you are super happy, don't have any responsibilities, any worries. And then between 25 and 44, there is a depression. Is when you have kids, you have high responsibilities, high expectations in your jobs, are starting to scale up. And then that depression starts to go up again when you are 44 years old because your kids start growing up, you are more settled in your job, you don't give so much importance to small things, and your happiness starts to grow up. I think that also that, in my opinion, is a good representation of the happiness, at least in my life. And also there is a correlation with the self-care as well. It's like at the beginning you have self-care, then goes down, and then it starts to grow up. We just need to acknowledge that life is not easy, but a bad day or a bad phase doesn't mean a bad life.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I see myself now maybe in that the line that is going down. So I was a mom recently. My son Frederico just turned 12 weeks a couple of days ago, and as a new mom, I have been talking with you kind of offline about the challenges that new moms face. So, what initiatives or changes do you think are needed to support working?
I think that at work, a supervisor who is very flexible and understandable is key. So my advice is to ask the right questions when you are going through job interviews and give importance to those type of questions if they are supportive and how is their approach when there are kids and they are sick, etc. Also, I think that it's very important to have a supportive partner who is 50% on this, although he's never 50%, but trying to get 50%. Um, and also, I feel that sometimes we are our own enemies. And with that, I mean that sometimes we want perfection on everything. We want to be perfect at work, with the kid, with the house, with the husband, with everything. And there is nothing perfect. It's okay to accept the imperfections and move forward. Just move forward. And importantly, I think that it's important to ask for help if you need it.
And that piece, I totally agree with you. It's something that I'm also learning to do. And like this would take an entirely different episode because as immigrants in the U.S., like we don't have our family here,
Yeah.
and I'm also trying to navigate how to do it myself with my husband, without the support of my mom here. The other day I went to a conference in Cambridge. It was actually about the innovation in women's health, and I just realized that none of these conferences or networking events offer you a babysitting or a daycare. And for the first time, I realized this may impede new moms like me to go to these types of events, and you're completely eliminating a very special age population, which are young moms, to go to these events. Luckily, I have my husband at home. He was able to stay with the baby for the 2 hours that I stepped outside. But I do think, now that I'm in this position, that we as moms and, some with more experience than others, together with companies and institutions, we need to start thinking about what else can we do to bridge the gap. Because if we stop going to conferences and events, then you are putting moms aside from growing in their careers, right?
Totally.
So, our episode is ending, but we still have time for some lightning questions. Are you ready for those?
I'm ready.
Okay, so the first one is, do you have a particular moment in your career that had a big impact in shaping who you are today?
Yeah, I will say there was one important moment in my career, and it was a group activity that HR ran in a company when I was working. In that activity, we were learning about our personalities and how we react with other personalities. And since then, I feel that I have more self awareness and I understand what is triggering some of the reactions on me.
Interesting. So how would you encourage the next generation of female scientists to become leaders?
I think that my advice is it's not necessary to become a leader. Sometimes supportive positions are more important than even leadership positions. My advice is to be kind with everybody, help when you can, act with integrity even when nobody is looking at you, and follow your passion. And that will lead your way.
I love that because this podcast is about getting more women into leadership positions, but ultimately we should do what makes us happy, and that not always become a leader, right? So we also need to support the scientists that decided to not go into these higher level positions, and I agree with you that being kind, having kindness is probably one of the major things to help them succeed. At the end, this is all about success, right?
Yes.
And the last question, is there a book, an article, or a podcast that you would recommend to our audience?
Yeah, of course. There are two books that were very helpful for me. The one was The First 90 Days by Michael Watkins. And this was to get up to speed in your new job. And that was really helpful. And then the second book that I would recommend is The Making of a Manager by Julie Suo. That was a gift, a very nice gift from one of my mentors, and it was really helpful when I was stepping up in a management role. So if you are doing that, I highly recommend that one.
That's awesome. I have the first one, the 90 days, the first 90 days. It was given to me when I started my first job as a scientist. And I actually found it very interesting when companies onboard you and give you these books. And definitely I'll take a look into the second one because now I'm more into that managing position. Um, I think this was awesome, Zafira. Thank you so much for being our guest. I think this conversation is going to inspire many women to be whatever they decided to be. And thank you for sharing your insights and for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you to you for organizing this podcast and running this amazing organization.